Hey everyone, we just wanted to start off this video with asking you to please subscribe to the channel and clicking that bell so that you get notified when we drop new videos and go live. Hello everybody, this is Caleb with King's Advisors, and on today's episode of What We Love About, I am going to be talking about one of Pixar's best movies, Cars. So, last week I rewatched a bunch of Pixar movies, and it led me to kind of think, what's happened to Pixar? Because we had all these great movies from about 1995 to, let's say, about 2010, 2012, something like that, where we had Toy Story 1 and 2, Cars, The Incredibles, Monsters Inc., Monsters University. We had all of these movies that came out, and they were great family movies. They had great characters. They had really good stories. And it never really felt preachy. It never felt old, dragged out. You just never got upset watching it. Or you were always kind of into it. I've watched movies where I haven't been angry during it. I haven't hated them. I haven't loved them, but I've just kind of been ambivalent. Like I haven't really cared. Like, why do I care about this character? But with Pixar of, you know, the early 2000s and, even into, like I said, 2010, 2012, you could still feel the love there and the drive to, pardon the pun, to make a great movie. And I feel like this is the pinnacle of that. I feel like Cars is a pinnacle of that. One of the reasons I think that is because, as far as I'm aware, it's not based on something. It's not the Disney version of Hamlet or the Disney version of Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, things like that. It's not. It's not a redo. It's not a Disneyfied version of an already existing story. It's, as far as I know, an original story. I have a friend that argues that no movie can be perfect. No medium of art can be perfect because there's always something you can do that's better. And so for him, a 10 out of 10 does not exist. But I submit that Cars is the perfect movie. At no point during the many times that I've watched this movie have I thought that could have been done better. This could have been better. That could have been animated better. I feel like everything is just perfect. And one of the things that I love so much about this movie is actually its main setting, which is Radiator Springs along Route 66. And one of the things that I love about it is you can truly see the love of the artist here. You've got Flo's V8 Cafe right here. A V8 is a type of engine. You've got a body spraying Ramon's Body Art tattoo parlor. A leaning tower of tires. Not the leaning tower of Pisa, but the leaning tower of tires. Inside of Luigi's, when he opens up the red curtain to show the white walls, they're called fettuccine alfredo. You can't see it right here, and I couldn't find a good picture of it. But Flo's Cafe, the building is a flywheel, which is a part of a car. You had the old timey gas pumps right here, down here in the bottom left. Even the mountain right here, even this plateau is shaped like a flywheel. So in the back here, you've got Cadillac Range. Cadillac is a car company. You've got that scene where Sally and Lightning McQueen are overlooking Ornament Valley right here. You see this. You see Radiator Springs right down here. But, you've got these cars, hood ornaments, all these beautiful, like 1950s, 1960s looking cars. And then along the racetrack that Lightning and Doc race around, you've got this hood ornament right here. So you've got all this really beautiful imagery that takes place in this movie, all related to cars. And it isn't, in some of the cases, you could kind of say, okay, well, you could just Google cars. You can get the idea. With something like this, with Cadillac Range, It's very possible someone could have just thought, "Hey, wouldn't it be kinda cool if the back of some old cars made up a mountain range?" Sure, but I wouldn't expect a normie, someone that doesn't know really anything or very little about cars, to know about V8s or think, "Hey, the cafe should be called V8." You could probably do Ornament Valley without getting people in that know a lot about cars, and because this is kind of, you could probably think of this up on your by yourself, but there's enough little things in Radiator Springs, and then we've got this. Here's an overview. This is the flywheel I was talking about. Sally's Motel, cones. That's cool. It's all these little things that they did to kind of add this sense of realism and still tell a compelling story. I know I'm talking a lot about things that don't make up the story, but like I said in a previous video, your setting and your music and what you see is its own character of a story. And with this, I think that character really steals the show in a way, because you buy in almost. You believe that this universe of cars exists. Because why wouldn't the cafe be called V8? Why wouldn't you sleep in a cone? One of the things that's so great about this is you've got this great story of this rookie car basically dealing with rookie pains. He's in he's being represented, he's being sponsored by a company he doesn't like because he's flashy and he wants to be the rich guy and the big man on campus, and he's just not that. And so he sees his shot at getting that. And you get, obviously, he falls out of the trailer and ends up in Radiator Springs, gets in trouble, and you see him spend so much time trying to get out of there, trying to get away from Radiator Springs, to get back to California. And eventually, you see him kind of accept it and kind of figure out, maybe there's more to life. And I think that's one of the reasons this movie's such a great movie, because it doesn't just speak to children. It speaks to adults. Every adult that I know, at least, has gone through that moment in their life where they're like, is there more to life than what I'm putting into it? Am I doing enough with my life to make the world a better place? And we can see, and that's a little deeper than this goes. You see McQueen decide that he needs to do more with what he's been given, which is why he ends up doing a better job on the road, not simply just so that he can leave, but he feels like they deserve a better road. He fixes their neon. I don't understand how he did it, but he fixes their neon. He starts supporting the businesses by buying stuff. There's just a moment there that you see the flip switch and you see that he decides, and it's really that moment when he's overlooking Ornament Valley with Sally, and Sally explains what happened to her when she burnt out as an attorney. And I can understand that. I've had burnout, and there are moments that you just want to leave everything behind, and it's part of the human experience, isn't it? There are moments in our lives where we just want, we wish we could just do something else or start over or give up or something like that. There should always be that voice in the back of your head saying it gets better, just push through, persevere. And you kind of see him do that here in this movie. We get that moment between him and Doc Hudson when Doc is kind of explaining why he left it all behind, because he was a famous race car too. And Doc just kind of opens McQueen's eyes to, the world you're in doesn't care about you. No one cares about you. You are living in a world where they will turn on you the second you stop giving them what you want. And it feels a lot like the world we live in today. But the world's always better. There's better people in this world than we give it credit for. Because when Doc returns, he's loved. Everyone loved. They're so happy to see him. And I think that's one of the things that, time heals all wounds. And that's a great example of that. Time healed the wound that Doc suffered because everyone realized what they had lost and they were so happy to see him back. There are people out there that are gonna say, Caleb, it's a Pixar movie from 2005. Get over it. But that's the point. The reason people are so upset, the reason there are people out there that are making millions of dollars off of yelling at the computer and yelling at their camera is because people are upset that the message that is being put in our children's entertainment is stuff we don't agree with. Is stuff that parents should have the right to explain on their own and how they want to explain it. And at the end of the day, the messages that and as someone told me the other day, there have been messages in movies and TV shows and plays and entertainment since we learned to speak. But those messages on the whole were usually strong messages. And when I say that, what I mean is it was usually the message of King Arthur is honor and strength through unity and the belief that you should work every day to be better than you were the day before. That's a good message. That's a honorable message. A movie that is about being a stronger person and learning from your defeats and your failures is always going to be a more accepted movie than a movie that tries to tell you you're the reason something bad is happening. And I think that's why a lot of movies today are missing the mark because they stopped giving us the messages that we used to get. The message of Cars is to treat others with the same respect that you want to be treated, whether they are a rusty car or a multi-million dollar racing machine. Treat others with as much dignity and respect as you think you deserve, and the world would be a better place. Now, I've kind of gone on a rant there and kind of moved away from what we love about Cars, so let me get back to that real quick. So we get to watch Lightning McQueen grow as a character. We get to see Sally grow as a character as she explains why she left, what she loves about this place. We get to see Flo and Ramon grow. We get to see, and we even see Lizzie, the Model A or whatever she is. We get to see her grow a little bit. The fire truck grows. Mater grows. Now, the Sarge and the hippie mobile, I forget that one's name. They're kind of flat. I mean, everyone can't have an arc, but we get to see this character growth and this interaction in a way that it just works. And it's kind of funny. On the last one of these I sat there and I just talked about how great Master Commander was. And I'm not really talking about that on this one because it's almost self-explanatory. We're at a point in the movie where McQueen just wants to leave. He just wants to go back to LA. And Doc is obviously making him fix the road, and he does it horribly at the beginning. And Doc challenges him to a race, says, "Hey, I'll race you. If you beat me, you win." But he knows he's not going to win because it's a dirt track, and NASCAR cars don't drive on dirt. And so he gives him that piece of advice. If you find yourself going hard enough left, you'll go right, which doesn't make any sense. But it's to kind of explain driving on dirt. And I used to understand what the exact like word for word definition of the metaphor. I don't anymore. It's been a long time. What's so great is you get to see that callback later in the movie when he ends up on the inner grass ring of the racetrack in California, and he uses the advice that Doc gave him. But beyond that, even earlier, we get to see him constantly trying to do that race in the way that to do that circuit, that dirt road track that they have out there, in the way that he would do a asphalt track. And he fails every time, and eventually he tries to do the turning right instead of going left. And obviously that fails because he was looking at it literally when Doc was speaking metaphorically. And so it's things like that. It's adding to the story and dedicating the movie to the story and not the movie to a cause or a message. I said earlier that I submit that this is a perfect movie. I mean, during the entirety of that movie, I have never sat there and gone, they should have done this. I wish they had done that. I've done that during the other two ones. I don't think the other two hold a candle to the first one. The other thing that works so well during this movie is the music they chose. You know, we've all heard Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts. And it's because, you know, there's a lot of times when singers today will redo songs and they're fine, but they're not as good as the original. But I think Rascal Flatts did one of those rare times when their version's better than the original. One of the other things that really makes this movie so great is there was actually that tie-in game back in, I think it was right around when the movie came out. They made a video game for it. And I played it on the GameCube. And I just remember sitting there doing all this stuff, driving through Radiator Springs, listening to these songs that I don't think I would have heard without the game. I wasn't a big non-country music listener. In this game, they had songs like Free Ride. I genuinely don't think I would have heard Free Ride without this, at least, you know, not until I grew up a little bit more. Without the game, you know, Night Drive by the All American Rejects. Oh, who else was there? Go Faster by the Black Crows. You had a bunch of these little songs that I'd say little, big songs that they just added to the experience. I've actually thought many times that I need to get that game back and play it again because it was a lot of fun. And beyond the story that's going on this whole time, you get kind of a middle America story as well. You get to see when Sally and Lightning are up there on that at that motel and they're talking about the past of Radiator Springs and Ornament Valley. And you see that, you know, the interstate really destroyed this town, which is true for a lot of towns that were very big on the highway system. It really makes you feel for all the characters. And I'm one of those guys that I really like driving around to if I'm going somewhere, I don't usually fly, I drive there. And so I've seen a lot of these towns that, you know, the interstate system has bypassed or, you know, not a lot of people show up at anymore. And there's always that kind of thought that, you know, how are you still living here? How, you know, what do you do that you're able to make the money to continue to live somewhere where 3 or 4 people show up a day? And that's kind of the feel that you get when you see Radiator Springs here at the beginning. And then you get to see what it was like in its heyday, to quote the movie. And it's just night and day different. You get to see some like I almost want to say you see the pride leave. That's one of the things that makes the end of the movie so great when Lightning mentions that he's going to set up his racing headquarters in Radiator Springs. And you realize, oh my God, they're going to get that again. They're going to get that new heyday. And honestly, that's what the second movie should, or the third movie, because the second movie, while it had that dastardly plot in it, was kind of an interesting idea of, you know, you've got the fastest US car, the fastest NASCAR car. You know, let's see what it's going to go do on an F1 track against the Europeans. That's cool. And you know, I'd love to see a race where we get, you know, the Indies, the NASCAR, the F1s and all that. And even though a lot of these cars would be outclassed in certain areas, you know, one of the reasons why motorsport still takes so much skill is because it's not just a straightaway. You know, it's not a drag race. In a drag race, the F1's probably going to win, but the F1 still has to corner. And there are cars out there that can corner better. There are cars out there that are slower on a straightaway, but they're faster in the corners. So it'd still be a really fun thing to watch, I think. Um, but that's what the third movie should have been. The third movie should have been, you know, seeing him in Radiator Springs, going through training, getting ready for another race, and having to deal with some sort of problem. instead of the like lost soul thing that we got. I hated the third one. It was terrible. But again, this is not what we hate about a movie, and this is what we love about the movie Cars. And what we love about the movie Cars is that it's a beautiful story with a beautiful setting, great characters, and artwork that looks like the people involved in the movie genuinely cared about what the movie looked like. And the music's just chef's kiss on that. And with that, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of What We Love About. Stay tuned for next week. And as always, please like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter at King'sAdvisors_.